Hi and welcome. This is such a fun project and I know you're going to enjoy it. We're going to be making some of these really cute little mini pots from air dry clay. I absolutely love air dry clay projects and I've used it in quite a lot of my videos up till now. And there's going to be lots more to come as well. So to begin with, we need a small fist size of clay to make the pot about this size. We won't be using it all, there will be a little left over, and what we need to do first is condition the clay and give it a lovely knead and make it all soft and ready to use. And then we're going to roll it out. I like to use a tile for mine. If you've got a sheet of glass or something non-porous that you can roll onto, and we're going to roll it to approximately 1/4 of an inch in thickness, a little bit thinner if you like. As a beginner you might like to just work with it a little bit thicker. This one's fairly thin, and if it's thicker it might just be easier to work with. You can do any size you wish. I've chosen to do it the size of this cookie cutter, and just to get a guide you can get a sheet of plastic or a sheet of card and just work out how long you need to be to make the walls of our little pot. And then I'm using that also as a guide just to cut along, so we just need a straight edge. You can use a ruler. I want my pot to be about this sort of height, so I am just using this as a guide. I'll put the dimensions of my pots in the description below if you'd like to follow mine, but feel free to make it any size and shape you wish. Cut another thin section, which is going to be this inner rim of the lid. Then we take our chosen size cookie cutter and we need to cut one circle, which is the base of the pot, and a second circle, which is going to be the lid. If you don't have a cookie cutter, find something round and with your knife cut a nice round circle with that. Just try and be as neat and as careful as you can, because that results in then a nice even pot at the end. You need a nice sharp knife and the cutters, and then we can roll this up and put it back in the packet and save it for another project. You really don't need much clay for this project. This disc of clay is going to be the base of the pot, and so we can take an ever so small amount of water and just make sure we have a nice round circle. And then what we need is a nice sharp knife, or you could use a pin or anything sharp, or something that we can make little marks on, and we're going to attach the walls to this rim here. So we take our thicker piece for the walls and I'm going to bend that round, and either before you might have cut it to the exact size, or as I'm going to do here, I'm going to cut a 45-degree angle on the end to enable us to see here I'm doing it at a slight angle so that it enables us to mould the two sides of the walls together. And then equally we need to score the bottom edge of this. I've made some slip. I'll make a little video on how to make this slip as well, actually, so you can see that air dry clay slip. And all we need to do is paste this around the edge there. So we are basically scoring and adding slip, which is the glue, to both of the joining surfaces. And equally here on the edge we need to add a bit of that slip, the glue, and join those together. You see here our 45-degree angle is going to help us blend those edges together. So now take a little tool, you can use a chopstick, a knife, and we simply need to blend the edges together, really mould that together so that it becomes one. You don't want any air gaps or anything. And then to help with this, we're going to roll a really thin coil, and you can see how nice and thin it is. Add a little bit more slip on that inner edge there, and then we're going to put this thin coil right into the corners all the way round the base. And then again we take our little tool and you want to mould that together and really make it so that it's all one, and this is going to join the sides together. along with that slip in the middle, which is our glue, and that's what I did here with this one. Once you've blended it all together with your tool, take a little bit of water and blend it out with your finger or a nice damp sponge, and you can do the rim there as well. And then we can move on to the base, and we need to do exactly the same here. I tend to like to bring a little bit up from the bottom and then take a little bit up from the top, and you see this sort of motion, and you're basically just wanting to melt those sides together so that we have no cracks, and be ever so delicate but at the same time being a little firm with it, because you don't want those walls to cave inwards. And you can take a little bit of water, not too much water, and smooth out. If you work on a small tile like this, you can turn it, and it's brilliant if you can keep at the same angle, but then you can turn it. While I was doing the pot section, I kept the lid sections of my clay under a plastic bag just to stop them drying out on the top. And so we just want to smooth out the lid around the edges and make sure we have a nice circle and a nice shape to be going on with. And we are going to now be adding this section on exactly like we did with the main section of the pot, and cutting this again at a 45-degree angle. I don't recommend cutting against your fingers there. That bit of the knife, well, I didn't push against my finger there. I was going to say it's not too sharp. It is sharp, but I'm not cutting against my finger, so don't cut against your fingers. Just checking if it's the right size still. Yes, we didn't distort that pot, so it's the right size. So we're good to go, and we can do exactly as we did before. Put our score marks on around, add the slip to both sides, and then we can add this on, and then I'll put a little coil in the middle again and do it exactly the same, but you just have this little inner rim for the lid so the lid doesn't just fall off your little pot. Smooth it out and take your time. Make it as neat as you can and enjoy the process. Now you can leave it to firm up for an hour or two. I've left these to dry just for the initial bit. It's come to the evening now, and I think they've been drying for maybe about 2 hours, and you can see that they are starting to firm up a bit and slightly easier to pick up. Because the clay here has been against the tile, it's still fairly wet, and so we'll be able to attach the little handle to the top really quite easily. Take a small section of clay for this. For this one I just rolled it out quite thickly and cut a heart out and attached that on. But for this one I'm just going to make it into a little fox face, so a little cute fox. We're going to do that by just pinching it with our fingers into shape. You can do any little character you like on top, or you could just do a simple round if you prefer. This just makes your little pot a bit more unique and a bit more personal. Once you're fairly happy with the shape, you can take a tiny bit of water on your finger and just smooth it out that bit more. And then we're going to score the top of the lid and the bottom of the fox face, and we're going to add some slip on there, and we're just going to attach it again. I'm going to do a really thin tiny coil again, and I'm going to use my tool and really blend this in. If you don't have this kind of tool, as I say, you can use a little knife, you could use the end of a chopstick, you could shave one down a bit and shape it, you could use a cocktail stick, anything really. I'm sure you've got something in your home that you can use if you don't have one of these. But I do hope you go and get yourself some air dry clay and give this project a go. Because we've been pushing down on the lid there, it's just a good idea to just check that we've not pushed too far and push the lid back into place before we let it set. I think it's going to be super cute, this one. I'm really looking forward to seeing how they turn out, and you can add just some more details as well and get it to how you want it to be before you let it dry. So this pot here is fully dry and we can paint it in a moment. I'll just show you this one, which is the heart one before it dried out. And so if you really gently take it off the tile, because it is a bit suctioned on there, what we can do when we take it off, if you've got some edges that need tidying up, it's still a little bit damp, so tidy them up, and you can add a little water too. And as I've gone along, it doesn't like fingernails, does clay, so if you do have fingernails, just try and keep them out of the clay, but we can always smooth them out. I've left this pot to dry now, probably about for 3 days in a cool environment, and it's fully white and it's fully dry and ready to sand. I use just a really fine sandpaper, and I just go round all of the edges, all of the surfaces, until you're happy with the finished result. It's a good idea to do it in a well ventilated area. You don't want to be breathing in any of the dust. So if you are worried, you could wear a mask. And it's a lovely material to use, air dry clay, and it sands really well. So if you have made any mistakes or there's any bits that you're not quite happy with, you can just sand them away. And then once you have sanded, take a dry cloth and make sure you get rid of all the little bits before we add some sealant. I have an acrylic gloss medium here that I'm using, and what you want to do is incorporate it with a bit of water to make it that bit thinner. And as I showed you there, you could use a white PVA craft glue, or you could use Mod Podge, anything like that. Just water it down, 1 part water, 1 part glue, and then we simply take a soft brush and paste it on every surface of our little pot and the lid. Just 1 coat is fine, as long as you get to coat all of it. Set them aside to dry and wash that brush out really well. If you haven't done already, now is a really good time to have a think about how your pot is going to look when it's finished. Pinterest is great for inspiration, so take a look there. Take a piece of paper or a sketch pad and start making some sketches, and think about colours and the design. And then, as I've done here, I've just put together a little idea of how I want my pot to look. I'm starting off with a nice rich navy blue, and so I'm mixing my colour here. You can make yours any colour you wish. This is acrylic colour, and it's nice to take some colours and make your own unique colour, so as I've done here. So I'm going to take my now dried pot and I'm going to paint it with 1 coat of this acrylic paint, and it's covering really nicely, but I know I will need to give it a 2nd coat. And I'm going to paint up to this rim here. You can paint to either rim, you could paint the whole lot, but I'm going to paint just to that inner rim, and then I'm going to either leave it white inside or I might paint it a colour. So paint it all with 1 coat, set it to dry, which acrylic paint dries really quick, so it's super good at this stage, and then turn them over and give them another coat. I think I'll do this little heart a slightly different colour, so I'm going to do that blue, and it's best to paint a detail first with the full colour, and then you can go in around and neaten up the edges as I did there. And it looks cute like this, it really does look cute like this, and you could leave it like that if you like, but it's going to look even cuter when we add some detail. I have a really super fine brush here and I'm adding some fine detail. None of it's going to be perfect, it's not, that kind of adds to the charm of it. If you struggle to do thin marks like this, then just do a different pattern, do what works for you. And so to get my pattern all around the dish, I will add the first leaf in and turn it round and add another one in a different orientation. So if one's up, the other one can go down, go sideways. And as you can see here, I've done 4 of them, sort of equally spaced and just slightly different as we go round. And the same goes for all of the little things that you're drawing. And I tend to draw the biggest ones first, get those all sort of evenly spaced if that's what your design is, and then go in with a smaller detail afterwards. Another great product are these acrylic pens, and if you're not so good with a paintbrush, you could get some of these and just draw little patterns on, and they work wonderfully. You just need to go over once and then give them another second coat over again afterwards. And then you can add in some finer details if you want, like I am here, but as I say, it's your choice to do whatever pattern you wish. If you just like to do dots, you could take something like a cotton bud and dot into the acrylic paint and put lots of dots on. It's really up to you. Just, I think a nice dark colour like this with some brighter colours over the top really makes the whole design pop. So give it a go. As I say, dots work really well, especially with these acrylic pens. Dots work really nicely like that. So that's another little flower head. Just work it so that it works for you, and keep adding more detail and detail all around the whole pieces, including the lid, and it's starting to really come together. So here's an example of how you could do the dots. Some nice dots all over like that would look really lovely. Or you could just do some with some leaves on, and I think I'll do that one for the little fox pot that we did as well. So just cover the whole pot with some leaves, and it's starting to come together now, and I'm really quite impressed with how it's turning out. I think it's super cute, and I do hope you'll give it a go too. Here's my fox pot that is starting to dry, so what I'll do is I'll turn it over and dry it upside down for a little while, because you can see here the white is drying, but it's still quite grey and still really quite wet. Once it was dry, I started to paint this one too. And here it is, it's nearly finished. I've started to paint that one with some cute leaves, and I painted my little fox in there, and it's looking super cute. The final step is to spray both of these pots with some lacquer. You could varnish them, you could Mod Podge them, but I'm going to spray them with 2 coats of this craft lacquer. I'm absolutely thrilled with how they've turned out. They would make absolutely gorgeous gifts for your friends or family, so please do give them a go, and please let me know what you think, and I hope to see you again soon and see you on some of my other videos too. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.